Hey guys, I want to do a quick review of the Samsung Chromebook Plus. So I've gotten one and I've had one for about a week. This is the Plus. There's also a Pro model. The main difference between them being that the Plus model comes with an ARM processor, whereas the Pro model comes with a more powerful Intel processor. But other than that, they're for the most part the same piece of hardware. So when you get one, not much comes in a box. It comes with a power supply, which I do not have with me. I ended up leaving that at work. It comes, of course, with the Chromebook itself. And then the one other thing that it comes with is a quick start guide with some other tips for the stylus. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So before I get into this, for the uninitiated, let me explain what a Chromebook is. A Chromebook might fall under what had been called netbooks, where it's a minimalistic PC. Is primarily made to be for doing things that are connected to the internet, but most of the things that people do with their PCs nowadays involve having an internet connection. And so the Chromebook runs Chrome OS. It's not running Windows, it's not running some other operating system. It's running an operating system that pretty much consists of the Chrome browser. So we'll run the Chrome browser, and it runs applications that were designed to run within Chrome. So if you already have a PC at home that's running Chrome, you can actually hop in right now and take a look at what's in the Chrome store in order to see the types of applications that you'd potentially be able to run on this. Before you consider getting a Chromebook, if you're not already familiar with the Google ecosystem, I would highly suggest that you go ahead and start browsing the Chrome store and try taking a day just running only the Chrome browser or the apps that you find within the Chrome store. And if you're able to get by with that, then that tells you that you'd be able to get by with a Chromebook. If you try doing that and you find that, hey, I'm not actually able to do what I need to do, then the Chromebook might not be the device for you. And I got mine as a computer away from my computer where I don't need it to have all of the functionality. But if I'm traveling, it has just enough functionality for the things that I need, such as playing videos that I have saved, writing papers offline, and a few other tasks. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other features of this. Now, the ports that this comes with, and let me get this in focus. So on one side, you can see there's a microphone / headphone jack combined. There's a USB-C port, which we'll talk about in a second. And there's also a micro SDXC slot. If we flip over to the other side, you can see there's a second USB-C port. There's a power button, and then there's a volume up and the volume down. And then there's a slot for storing an included stylus. So those are all the ports that you have on the outside. Now, you can see there's a speaker grills on the bottom. Now, there may be some that might have noticed that there's not a port that is specifically for power. And that's because the USB-C port itself can be used for transmitting power to it. And we're going to talk more about this USB-C thing. So when you open this up, it instantly turns on. This can run for up to 8 hours without the battery. So let's start off by taking a look at what's different about the keyboard. For the most part, it looks like a regular keyboard. There's a few things that aren't there. You don't have a page up, page down, home buttons. I've been able to get by without those by using some combination of the control key and the arrow keys, or the alternate key and the arrow keys. Instead of having the function buttons across the top, you have some other buttons that just make sense to have. Like you have the dedicated browser backwards and forwards buttons. There's a refresh button that's next. There's a button for swapping back and forth between full screen versus within windowed mode. Another button will go ahead and show you all the programs that you have running so that you can quickly jump from one program to another. There's a button for adjusting the screen brightness, and then there's a mute button and volume down, volume up. The very last button on the keyboard is a lock button, and it almost acts like a power button, where if you hold down either the lock button or the power button for several seconds, then the Chromebook will go ahead and lock itself, and you can just close the lid and it'll more or less go into sleep mode where it's not using that much energy. So you can get by, like I said, with 8 hours on a single charge. If you need to power it, in addition to using the power supply, like I said, it charges over USB-C. And while I left my power supply at work, I found that I had no problem charging it with the same charger that I use for my phone. The only thing that you need to have is a USB-C cable. So I have a cable where it's USB-C on one end, and this is like a newer USB standard, so you may or may not be familiar with it. And then just regular USB-A on the other. And so to charge it, I just go ahead and plug one end into one of the USB slots. The other end can go into a phone charger, and I found that this even works on my portable phone chargers. So when I plug this in, this is made for my phone, but it is enough to charge the Chromebook itself. So more on this USB-C. Exactly what is it used for? Well, you've heard the first thing that it's used for. USB-C can be used for powering devices, but it can be used for some other things too. It replaces the traditional USB port. It is backwards compatible with the traditional USB port, but it looks a little bit different. Once again, I'll highlight the differences. This is USB-A. This is what USB-C looks like. Let's get this in focus. So highlighting the differences. This is USB-A versus USB-C. So USB-C can be used for many of the same things that USB-A can be used for, provided that you have an adapter for using it that way. Now I happen to already have an adapter that will allow me to plug into a USB-C and then plug a regular USB-A device into it. And so all that's required for that is for me to plug the USB device in here, and then it can be plugged into the side of the computer. Now, one of the nice features about USB-C is you can plug it in either way, and you'll get it right the first time. So I'm plugging in, I can either plug it in this way, or if I were to flip this upside down, I could plug it in the other way, and either way it would still work. So I've tried some USB accessories with mixed results as far as what has worked and what has not worked. Now my external keyboard, my external mouse, whenever I plug it in, that works fine. Absolutely no problem. I did also go ahead and I got a USB-C drive, and so this is USB-C on one end and it's regular USB in the other. So this works in both the PC I already have, and it also works on a Chromebook. So I can just plug it in there and start browsing files and copy them on and off. So that's something else that works. I did try using this, which is this is both a USB hub. It plugs into USB-C, but then gives you multiple USB 3.0 ports, and then has Ethernet on the end. So when I plug it in, this is not recognized by the device. I did try also using this adapter, and so this is a USB-C to mini display port, and at first it seemed not to work. And this also seemed not to work. Where this provides an HDMI output, a USB-C output, and a USB 3.0 output, and all I had to do is plug into the USB port. Now I haven't found this written down anywhere, but in order to use the video output, it does matter which port that you plug this into. The USB-C port that is on the right side does not work with video output, but the USB-C port that's on the left side does work. And so I'll go ahead and show you this working. I happen to have a mini display that works with HDMI outputs, and now you can see my tripod, but zooming out just so that you can see this work. So like I said, make sure you are plugging into the right port. I'll go ahead and plug the mini or the HDMI into this. I'm going to turn my display on, let it power up here, or I think it was already on. No, it wasn't. So it's powering up. And it's not showing anything, of course, since I haven't plugged it in. So once I go ahead and plug this in, and like I said, make sure you plug into the left port. It will not work on the right port. So the main screen flashed there. In a second, you should see it. Yes, so now it has extended its desktop to the other screen. So it's plugged into both. And right now, this is arranged to be on the right side. I'll open up a window just so that you can see me move it between the two windows that are up here. So let's see, if I grab onto, let's get this out of full screen mode. Okay, now I can move it around. So if I grab onto it, you can see that I can move it over to the other window.